I, Vishal Periwal, on behalf of IDBI Capital Markets, welcome you for the institutional investor interaction. We have a complete board of NLC India with us, led by CMD Sir, Mr. Rakesh Kumar. And just to give you an overview, we'll have a brief about the company from CMD Sir, and then we'll have interaction with the investors, and then there will be concluding remarks. So with this, I'll hand it over to Sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Vishal. Very good afternoon to all of you. I'm very happy to get connected to you after all the fears of COVID are almost gone now, and after performing for the financial year 21-22 and completing the first quarter also, today I'm happy to join with my team. To my right is Shaji John, Director Power, Shri Mohan Reddy, Director BNP, left side Director Finance, Jayakumar Srinivasan, and our friend from Deepam, Sanjay Kumar ji, is also joining us today. And of course, Director Mines is on leave. He is gone abroad for some personal agencies. And my other team members are also there. Our Executive Director Finance, Mukesh Agrawal, is there, who has organized and is going to play a vital role in this meeting and next meeting also. So, before we start, just wanted to give you some briefs about the company's performance for the financial year 21-22. I again welcome all of you to have spared time and joining us on this meeting. Few achievements which I would want to share with you on operational and financial results of NLCL for the year 21-22. 21-22 has been a very happening year for the company. We have achieved the highest ever power generation, 29.20 billion unit in the financial year 21-22. Highest ever total power export of 25.89 billion unit. Our lignite production has increased by 30% as compared to the previous year. Coal production has also witnessed a surge. Last year it was less than 1 million ton, around 1 million ton, and this 21-22 we have reached 6.35 million ton coal production, and we have also been able to sell coal with the special approval from Ministry of Coal for a value of 830 crore. And lignite also is being sold in the market to the extent of 824 crore. This is also highest level. And the biggest concern of collection of dues we have been able to address to a great extent this time, and our collection efficiency was 146%. Total income of the company during the year ended 31st March 22 is rupees 10,662 crore as against rupees 8,967 crores in the corresponding period, registering a growth of 19%. EBITDA has shot up by 25%, reaching a level of 4,918 crore as against 3,934 crore corresponding year. Profit after tax is 1,237 crore as against rupees 1,010 crore in the corresponding period of the previous year, registering a growth of 22%. Our power generation, is 25,022 million unit against 19,322 million unit. This is standalone basis, registering a growth of 29%. And our sale of power has also shot up by 32%, which is 22,041 million unit as against 16,724 million unit in the corresponding year. If we talk about consolidated, our total income has grown by 6%. It has crossed 12,000 crore, 12,546 crore as against 11,798 crore. And profit before tax has also grown by 17%, which is 2,603 crore as against 2,223 crore. This is consolidated. Some of the highlights I would like to share. Our Neyveli Talabira thermal power project, which was much awaited and it is offering a very competitive power. We have signed PPA with Tenjedco on 16th March 2022 with Tenjedco for 1500 megawatt, and this was done in the presence of Honorable Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu and Secretary Coal, Government of India, Ministry of Coal. And subsequently, after following with other beneficiaries also, we have been able to sign PPA for 100 megawatt with the Union Territory of Puducherry on 9th May 2022. Kerala has also given the consent of 400 megawatt and PPA is expected shortly. Odisha has also shown inclination. The process is on and we are hopeful that we will be able to get their PPA also signed. With that, we will be able to have total power of 2,400 megawatt, 800 into 3 units. Tenjedco has communicated their willingness on 4th May 2022 for extending the PPA from TPS1 expansion, which is a 2 units of 210 megawatt for a further period of 15 years. So these are the signs that our thermal based power generation, which was facing some uncertainty, a lot of comfort has come from the beneficiaries showing their willingness to come forward and continue our business on thermal power. And I am very happy to share with you that in all India thermal sector, including private, our TS1 expansion plant is ranked as number 1. And if we see as compared to other companies, NTPC Korba for the month of April, this is for the month of April, it is comparable. And plant load factor was 100.31% in the month of April. And during the quarter, in all India central sector thermal, this plant ranked number 1 with 98.34% PLF. And if we see the total sector including private, it is ranked at number 3 in the whole quarter. Another thing I want to share is on renewable power. Assam Power Distribution Company Limited, they have also expressed their willingness to set up a joint venture company for solar power plant of 1000 megawatt. That was also a press release was also there, and they have also conveyed their in principle consent for purchase of the untied 25% capacity of Ghatampur 495 megawatt from NUBPL. And this Ghatampur, this 25% tie-up was a long pending issue on which we were making efforts, and this consent and their approval by their cabinet has come as a good sign that we will be able to shortly come up with the firming up of this balance 25%. Our capex has reached the level of 2,542 crore, which is 123% of our MOU target for the financial year 21-22. Commercial production from the Talabira 2 and 3 mines which started on 1st April 2021, we have been able to make dispatches of 6.36 million ton during the year 21-22 to meet the country's growing demand. And I'm happy to share that our mining plan for this current year was for a quantity of 8 million ton from this mine, and nominated authority has given us an ambitious target of 13 million ton for the 22-23, which translates to approximately 35,800 million ton daily average. And on 3rd July this current year, this mine has demonstrated the daily production of 43,800 metric ton. This current year quarter also, our NLC thermal power plants have reached a PLF of more than 80% as against last year average PLF of 71.63%. So this is another information which I wanted to share. Out of this Talabira coal, 2.252 million ton has been dispatched to 3 thermal power plants of NTPC, Darlipalli, Khargone and Lara, through rail road mode on MOU route basis, and 1.417 million ton to NTPL, which is the end use plant for which this Talabira coal block was allotted. And we have also auctioned 2.4 million ton through e-auction with an average price of 1,422 per ton of coal. And during the year 22-23, 0.5 million ton of coal was e-auctioned at an average price of rupees 8,150 per ton against the floor price of rupees 2,005 for a total revenue of 407 crore. Similarly, in case of lignite, an e-auction for sale of lignite was conducted on 29th April 2022 for a quantity of 1 lakh ton with a base price of 2,345 per ton, and the auction ended up with an average booking price of rupees 5,149.20 per ton, which is 119.58% increase over the floor price. Again, on 18th May 22, the auction for another 1 lakh ton was conducted, and these with the same base price, which ended up an average booking of 4,091.97 rupees per ton, which is 74.49% increase over the floor price. An e-auction for sale of lignite on 24th May 2022 from Barsingsar mine was also conducted for a quantity of 1 lakh ton, the base price of 2,000 rupees per ton, and the auction ended up with an average booking price of rupees 5,288.52 per ton, which is 164.43% increase over the floor price. A long-term contract for 10 years was entered with IOCL on 24th May 22 for execution site mixed emulsion explosive plant at Niveli and supply of explosive to NLC mines. This is the contract value of approximately 270 crore. This gives us a better security on mining operations in terms of supply of explosives. You know that we have paid an interim dividend of 15%, amounting to rupees 208 crore on 28th March 22 for the year 21-22. And our NTPL, the joint venture of NLCL, declared and paid a dividend of rupees 153.16 crore towards interim dividend at the rate of 7% of the paid out equity share. There has been a concern on meeting the environmental norms, and our FGD retrofittings projects of different units is progressing. We have awarded FGD package for NNTPP to Messrs L&T Limited on 30th March 2022, and the work awarded to BHEL for NTPL FGD. Both the projects are under progress. We are regularly monitoring it, and we are hopeful that we will be able to complete those projects in the scheduled period.
Suresh is coming.
NLCL received 37.97 crore towards Central Financial Assistance for 20 megawatt Andaman Solar Power Project on 31st March 2022. And Ministry of Power wide order dated 28th March 2022 to CEA has reallocated the relinquished power from Thermal Power Station 2, Stage 1 and 2 of 149 megawatt by Telangana Discoms to TEGEDCO. We have also entered into consultancy business in solar as well as coal blocks, and I'm happy to share that we have progressed on the renewable consultancy through our joint venture company with Coal India Limited, CLUEPL, and for the coal block Saharpur Jamarpani coal block of which is allotted to UPRVNL. We have been mandated to provide the consultancy services, and we are progressing on that well. Very shortly we will be able to come up with the MDO tender, and we will be able to give our services to them. Let us talk something about upcoming projects. NLCL has engaged Messrs Engineers India Limited as project management consultant for the implementation of lignite to methanol project. This is a new entry. This is our diversification plan on gasification. Methanol, as you know, that it is a very environmental friendly fuel, and it has many uses other than the mixing with the fuel, or it can be used in paints. Other byproducts can also be manufactured. So there is a lot of demand in the southern India, and we are coming up with a plant there. NLCL is going ahead with the TS2 second expansion project, 2 into 660 megawatt. As you are aware that in our corporate plan, two phases of TS2 second expansion of 660 megawatt each, 2 units in the phase 1 and 2 units in the phase 2 were planned, but there were a lot of uncertainties. Therefore, beneficiaries were not coming forth to sign the PPA. But now again they have shown their willingness. TEGEDCO has reaffirmed not only to take their share of TS2 second expansion first phase, they have shown the willingness to take full power. We are also exploring that how we can distribute that power. NLCL has bagged 150 megawatt hybrid RE project in the SECI tender, and the projects are in the tendering stage now. Similarly, we have also bagged 510 megawatt solar project which was floated by IREDA, and this was under CPSU scheme having a VGF component also. This project is also under implementation, and I'm happy to share that Government of Assam has approved the proposal for 1000 megawatt, which I shared with you. We want to form a JV. Things are progressing well. And on renewable energy, our COF has increased from an average of 16.5% to 17.5%. There is a remarkable improvement. And with this, I invite questions on any of the aspect of our business. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, sir, for the detailed overview about the company. So what we'll do is we'll open for Q&A. Participant, I request, before asking a question, you can introduce yourself and your firm name, and then you can ask a question. Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, hi sir. This is Vijay Sada from BL Finance. Sir, my first question is regarding this coal mine commercial. So you said last year we did around 6.3. This year target is around 13 million ton, which is ambitious. But how much is of that coal has to be provided at a 14% ROE, or how much is the commercial component of that if we produce 10 or 12 or 13, whatever? So how much is the fixed component which we need to provide at 14% ROE to NTPC and NTPIL, and how much rest we can sell it to the market?
Talabira mines primarily it is allotted to meet the end-use power plant requirements. NTPL to the extent of 5 million ton, and Pithead power plant with a total capacity of 3,200 megawatt. Earlier it was 4,000 megawatt. Then we focused on 3,200 megawatt in two phases, 800 into 3 in the first phase and 801 unit in the second phase. So when it comes to 20 million ton capacity, we will be able to utilize the total coal for these two destinations. But as you know that the Talabira power project got delayed. There are uncertainties. There were issues in the tendering because we wanted to ensure enough competition, and therefore with very less number of players left in the industry, we were trying to accommodate them by changing the requirements in the tender conditions very transparently. So this has taken some time, and therefore in the intermittent period till such time this power plant comes up, and railway siding is another constraint which is hampering our coal dispatches from Talabira mines to NTPL. Therefore we came up with a strategy that in the initial years we will have the permission from Ministry of Coal to sell the coal in the initial years, so that we meet the demand of the country also, and in this period when MDO is already positioned and we can explore more coal, therefore we sought the permission and we were granted also. So under this permission we started giving coal to NTPC because it is the safe bet, it is meeting the demand, it is making the use of coal for the power generation by CPSE. Then we thought of selling in the market also with permission of Ministry of Coal only. And right now these auctions are just reflecting the revenues, and CRC guidelines have already been issued in terms of how much what is to be done with the excess revenue. So, and what is the pricing guidelines for the end use plant also. So that process is on, and in the due course of time we will be able to come up with the clear picture as to how much is the return, and at this stage we cannot calculate. We will be having some sort of processing of the petitions, and based on that we will be able to share.
I just wanted to understand, out of 6.5 million that you talked about last year we sold part of it to NTPC. So NTPC may be your production cost plus 14% or whatever. So is that amount fixed for NTPC what we are supplying, or it is again related to the market rate? So
no, we negotiated with NTPC. NTPC is also facing the regulatory regime, and they have to get the permission for pass-through of the enhanced price. So we were conscious about that, and we negotiated, and NTPC agreed to give 10% premium on the up to 3 million ton of sale over and above the swapping arrangement which we agreed. and beyond that they agreed for 20% premium. Now they must have been paying this 10% premium to Coal India to get the pass through. So these are the pricing arrangements with NTPC.
So above, sir, is there any if we are planning for 13 million ton, how much is our requirement to be sold to NTPC and NTPL, and how much we can sell in open market? Because open market there is auction price, so it is open price. So just wanted to understand how much is the open component which is left for us beyond NTPC and NTPL.
So as of now, our priorities are very clear. First and foremost priority is our end use plant of NTPL, right? And we have also sought permission to supply coal from our Talabira mines to Ghatampur project also. So if we are getting the permission and if we are able to make the arrangements for Ghatampur, which is also coming up by the end of this current year, and first unit and 2 more units with a period of 4 months each thereafter. So we will be trying to meet the Ghatampur requirement also. Next priority is NTPC, because NTPC is definitely going to make use of the coal for meeting the coal requirement of the nearby power plants. Now at present we are supplying coal to their 5 power plants, and they are also making arrangements for taking through rail route also. So as much as they can take, we will try to give to them, and beyond that, whatever is excess which is available to us, which we can produce, we will try to meet out the requirement through e-auction. So it all depends on how much we are able to meet these demands, then only we go for e-auction.
NTPL, how much will be the demand?
NTPL total demand is 5 million ton if the plant is running at full capacity. So at present we have a constraint of taking the coal to NTPL through rail route. Therefore we have made a swapping arrangement with NTPC, in which we will be supplying some 2.64 million ton to NTPC, against which MCL coal of some 2.4 million ton will be given to us from MCL, which has already started. The swapping arrangement is also first of its kind, that we have taken the initiative, and this has helped us in overcoming the difficulty which we faced during the current year for NTPL coal supply. Now we are able to overcome that.
Sir, just last question. What is the cost of coal mining that we have been producing?
Talabira?
Yeah.
Talabira costing.
We are, in fact, tentatively it will be around 700 rupees, but then we'll have to file a petition. Because this being an integrated mine with the end use thing, we'll have to petition the cost, and then we will be awaiting the final listing. Provisionally, we are billing at some
750, 60 rupees.
750, 60 we are billing. So it will be subject to final approval based on the regulatory orders.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, Jitendra from Baroda PNB. Can you give us an update on both the lignite pricing petitions and as well as the power tariff petitions that are currently filed?
Lignite pricing petition and
Power tariff.
power tariff. So power tariff petitions have already been filed, as the power tariff period from 2019 to 24. Based on the petitions we were charging, and we got some orders also on the lignite pricing also. But for coal, I think we need to file the
In
petition.
fact, as far we have a 5-year control period as far as the determination of power tariff is concerned, as well as pricing. Hitherto, till 1419 is concerned, That was in the domain of the Ministry of Power itself. Now CRC has come up with the second amendment to CRC regulation, whereby the transfer pricing will come under the domain of the CRC for the first time. Now, as far as 2014-19 is concerned, the petition was already filed, the true-up order is there. There has been some corrigendum order also. There are a few remnant issues which we are trying to deal with through a review petition. Now, as far as the next tariff period is concerned, 5-year control period, this is 2019-24. This has been recently filed.
And is it a separate filing for lignite, the transfer and for?
Yes. So incumbent on that, then the pricing, the input cost will be taken and the variable prices will be given. For the two-part tariff in the power, where capacity charges is separate variable. So here, the transfer pricing will be the input for determining the power tariff.
For the filing, approximately when can we expect some kind of a decision on these?
Some element of ponderables are there, but then we can say that it can take a couple of months.
Always it depends on 1924 will depend on the 1819 because the base will be the 1819 and 1819 is not finally come up to it. So we are waiting for the final decision on 1419. When we get the base of 1419, then we will go for the 1924.
As you know that after the tariff period is over, you are obligated to file a true-up petition. So that true-up petition, once it is finalized, found out finally. So based on that will make a start of the current tariff period of 2019.
It has to follow a sequence in the sense that first of all the transfer pricing will be determined based on the power tariff true-up, and then that becomes the basis for both the initial opening cost of fuel also and the initial opening cost of O&Ms for all other. So we are awaiting the true-up for the power tariff. The transfer price tariff for 1419 agenda is. Can I have your name again once again?
Yeah, good afternoon, Abhijit Day from Equities Wealth Advisors. So, few questions from my side. While you have elaborated on the coal business as to the kind of volumes which you are expecting. So while you gave the run rate for 3rd of July, so I mean, are you expecting closer to 13 million tons? I know this is slightly a hypothetical question because there are many months still left. There is a monsoon season also to navigate. But are you expecting closer to 13 million tons or will it be ballpark around 10 million tons?
We are hopeful of meeting the 13 million ton target.
Okay. And so the follow-up question on that, sir, because if I understand correctly that last year for FY22, the Ministry of Coal gave you permission for selling about 3 million tons under the e-auction route, not more than that. So is that, I mean, are you awaiting with 13 million tons, obviously you can sell more. So are you awaiting fresh round of approval from the Coal Ministry or you can go ahead and sell more than 3 million tons?
No, we applied for permission to sell coal to the extent of 67.5 million ton of coal from Talavera mines in a span of
5 years.
67.5 million tons.
Yeah.
Right. In a period of 4 years.
4 years.
Last 1 year was first year was 7.5 million ton.
Right.
And 4 years to the extent of 15 million ton, total coming to 67.5 million ton, that we have got the permission from Ministry of Coal.
Okay.
And we are required to approach the ministry after every year.
Mm-hmm.
They may have a review, and based on that they will continue the permission if they are satisfied that we have gone ahead in the right direction, because ultimately these resources are pertaining to government. This is a coal block for end use.
Right. So the 7.5 million which you're mentioning is FY21 plus 22 put together,
Yeah.
correct?
No, only one first year, 21-22.
Okay.
And this year we have 15 million ton.
Per million rupees.
Now this year onward.
Okay. Right. So that was helpful. And in terms of the under recovery, sir, NTPL we have come to know because on the website they have put a pro forma annual report. So that number was about 248 crores for NTPL, your JV company. How much was the under recovery for the standalone business in FY22?
For the standalone business, I think 534 crore, 535 crore approximately.
And versus how much was it in FY21, sir?
21 was more than 700 crore, I think that.
2021 is 714 crores. That was 714 crores in 2021.
Okay. And assuming, as Mr. John was telling me before the meet started, that the availability factor is close to about 85% as we speak for the first quarter also. So, I mean, ideally we should look at much lower number in FY23 for under recoveries. Is that an understanding correct?
Yeah, as you rightly said, this I was just mentioning to you when we were discussing about this quarter. This quarter, so far our all thermal units in NLC thermal units are having a planability factor of 83%. This first quarter, and a PLF of 80%.
Right. So this is standalone or including
I'm telling
NTPL?
standalone. Okay. But as I was telling, we have some problems with our TS2 expansion unit, where the planability factor is still 56%. So if you leave it alone, we can see TS2 or TPS2 unit 7 units of 210 megawatt are having more than 85%. Then the TS1 expansion, as we know, we have, as CMD sir was telling, it is performing at more than 100%. Even our Garsingsar unit also is doing well. Last financial year it did very well. 75% we had the planability factor. That is a CFBC unit. So NNTP also this financial year in this quarter our NNTP unit is 90%.
Okay.
So except for this TS2 expansion, all other units are currently performing well.
Okay.
So this PA, under recovery can go down further from last year.
Yeah, we can expect, or at least we'll be able to maintain. But I should say that we have to carry out certain planned shutdowns and overhaulings we'll have to do. So for that margin we will have to keep. In the first quarter, you are aware, because of the serious power shortage and all, entire country, all the thermal power plants are asked not to take any shutdowns. So that factor also we have to take. So I think we will be able to maintain this performance.
We will try our level best to reduce it further. As you can witness that on a year-to-year basis, we are focusing on this and we are achieving the results also. So this year we will try more.
And sir, one last question, sorry. On the capex, you mentioned the FY22 number, but what's the target for this year and next year, 23 and 24?
This year our target was 2,920 crore, 2,920 crore. But again, NLC is a performing company and Ministry has given us an aspirational target of more than 5,000 crore. So we are trying to achieve that. We are focusing on that, and our regular monitoring is also being done to augment the capex. And as you know, we are coming up with various projects, 510 megawatt solar, 150 megawatt hybrid, 1000 megawatt coming up in Assam for solar, for which JVs getting formed, 1320 megawatt TS2 second extension. Ghatampur is already on, we are progressing on that. And we may come up with lignite to methanol, for which PMC project is also awarded, contract is also awarded.
Okay. And in terms of the receivables, sorry, just one last thing. On the receivable side, of course, you have done well in terms of reducing the level. But this year, can we expect that trend to continue in terms of further lowering?
We have after realizing quantum chunk of the dues last year, This year, very prudent strategies we are adopting of bill discounting, and of course I would like the Director of Finance to share, because it is his domain. He has done very well on that front. Please share.
Yeah, I think you can see that the dues have been brought down from a level of 6,256 to a level of 3,900. I mean, out of that 3,900, some of the amount is not due because 45 days grace period is given. So you can't see same rate of reduction. However, the fact remains that some of the current dispensation, as different from earlier thing, was that Ministry of Power has really given us a proper framework, helped us in a manner that the LC mechanism that has been put in place, that if the LC is not there, you can simply inform the POSOCO that this LC is not there, so the power can get regulated. So a lot of deterrent in a very structured form has come. Earlier, there could be some forbearance on the part of the generators, all generators, keeping a relational aspect, things in mind. But now there has been a very, very dispassionate kind of a structure wherein if the payment is not made within days, we'll have to follow the protocol of invoking the LC or informing. So with these things, really, if you see the current dues of not only LC, many of the things, current dues are all up to date for the last 12 months. There are, of course, some old issues to be sorted out, which we are trying to sit together and also giving installment. For instance, Tamil Nadu, which is our biggest customer, also forms the major chunk of this thing. They have also recently come forward, evincing interest in subscribing to installment methodology, and they have in fact given it on writing. So that would ameliorate our position further. So within 1 year, we can see that a lot of old issues are there, and all those things are brought to very, very manageable.
Thank you.
Hi sir, Ritvik here from One Up Financial. I wanted some clarification on the coal production. You mentioned that last year we did 6 million ton, and out of that 2.5 million ton was for e-auction. Is that number right?
Auction, our e-auction total, how much was there? 2.4 million.
Okay, yeah. And this year we are going to do 13 million ton.
Total production.
Yeah. And out of that 5 million ton will be for our subsidiary NTPL.
5 million ton approximately.
Including that swap.
It all depends on this.
Including the swap. So balance 8 million ton potentially we can sell to external third parties.
Yeah, NTPC first priority after meeting the end use plan.
Right.
We will also try to get the permission from Ministry of Coal to give coal to our Rampur project.
Okay.
Because that is also waiting for coal. Our first unit is going to be commissioned, expected to be by March 2023.
Okay.
So whatever is requirement, we will try to meet from Talab.
And how big is that plant in terms of megawatt?
In terms of megawatt, we have 660 megawatt, 3 units.
3 units.
So 1 unit will be coming up by March 23, and other 2 units 4 months period thereafter, one by one.
Okay. And so what would be the requirement for this, and this first unit is operational?
When all units will be in operation, it will be something around 9 million tons.
9 million tons.
Annual.
So basically 5 million tons for NTPL, 9 million tons for.
As the unit commissioning progress.
Yeah.
The gap is there.
Over next 2 years probably. And our overall mining capacity is how much, like?
We have a normative capacity of 20 million ton and peak rated capacity of 23 million ton.
Okay. So and when do we expect to reach this 20 million ton?
We are targeting to meet 20 million ton next year itself.
Okay. So basically 14 to 15 million ton will be for our own subsidiaries and JV, and balance we would be selling it to NTPC, and if any further volume is left, we would be taking permission for e-auction.
Ritikji, we are not having a very firmed up plan for that, but our priorities are clear. So we will be moving around with these priorities in mind. And as we progress, because coal production from zero to highest level in 3 years, it has never happened. I have not seen in any of the mines in India. Maybe there may be some mines available. But depending upon the production, because there are many constraints also on the production side. We have many issues. We are resolving those issues also time to time. That's why we are getting good numbers. But the time to come, as we progress on production and as we see priorities meeting out, we will plan out.
But the base will only go from 6 million to 13 towards 20. Timing would be as per our production ramp up.
Just to add one thing, that the NUPPL thing we are looking at the intermediary requirement, because NUPPL has itself is an end-use plant of a South Pachwara coal mines of 9 million ton, which is under development. So till that time, this is a bridge kind of arrangement. So the dispensation is not going to be the same every year. It depends on when this power plant of NUPPL come on stream, and finally the end-use mines coal comes.
Right. And what will the number of power plants which will be coming on stream in the next 2 years in FY 23, 24 and 25?
New power plants.
Yeah, new power plants.
New power plant NUPPL Ghatampur is first unit by March 20.
Yeah.
And after 4 months, second unit. Thereafter 4 months, third.
And the units are not there before 2025. We will not have any other units for commissioning.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, hi sir, I'm Ranjit from Mahindra Mutual Fund. Sir, in FY23 of the 13 million ton, what is the likely e-auction volume for FY23?
We can't have a firm up figure for that. It all depends on how much we are able to meet our end-use plant, Ghatampur, then NTPC, how much they can take. Based on that only, we have no definite plans. We have the permission, but we don't have clear visibility. We will be, as we progress and as we see the production and meeting the requirements of end-use plant and NTPC, then we will decide.
And last year, what was the realization of the 2.4 million ton of e-auction? What was the average realization?
I have shared with you.
Average realization for the last year was around 1500 rupees per ton. But in the first quarter of April, the lignite coal price has gone up to 8,800 rupees. So last year,
8,150.
8,150.
And sir, yeah.
I will just follow up to this. Q1, what would be the realization in Q1? What would be the okay, that is for Q1 FY.
Only Q1. We had only done one e-auction in the first quarter of 22-20.
And sir, this BHEL, we have some damages, LDs which is pending. So, with that being, how do we plan to go about that?
BHEL?
TS2 expansion.
TS2 expansion, that there was some liquidated damages.
Yeah, actually, TS2 expansion was first of that kind in a CFTC unit which was awarded to BHEL of that size, 250 megawatt, and 2 units. And it was commissioned in 2015, but it had inherent problems. The problems are not, we have discussed also, there are still problems are there. And the project got delayed as well. So the liquidated damage is what we call in terms of the compensation for delays. So that's a part of the contract only. And with respect to that, we had some, there is a mechanism where 2 public sectors, we resolve the disputes. So that way a discussion was done at the CMD levels, and BHL agreed to compensate by way of some capital equipments. So that's under progress. So that way it is settled.
What's that amount? Is that 10% of 1200?
It is 7.5% of the contract value, which is approximately 1600 crore of the contract value, 120 plus crore.
120 crore, right?
Approximately 110 to 120 crore.
Okay. And sir, if I look at the realization now, it's a windfall realization which we are getting. So, will the government try to adjust this as per the CRC norms with the regulated equity on a later date, or will there be anything, because it's kind of a windfall gains which we are getting currently, right?
It is a comfort, but there is no extra gain because it is a realization of the dues only. So our cake is defined, well defined in the regulation, that will be entitled to 15% ROE, and now it is 15.5, but we are, because the 15.5 is also based on the scheduled completion. Within scheduled period, if we complete the power project, then only we get 15.5, otherwise 15%. So it is around 15% return only. So we are not going to get any windfall gain. It is a comfort on the liquidity front that our dues are realized. That's all.
No, sir. Currently, in 1Q, we had sold in e-auction at 8,000 rupees per ton.
You are talking about the sale of coal and lignite.
Yeah. So, in that, will there be a future adjustment in the regulated equity as per CRC norms, or this is like they have agreed to?
No, extra realization as per the CRC regulation, there is a well-defined process of partly, passing on to the beneficiary, and whatever in some ratio, I think 50-50. So there is no provision of adjusting the regulated equity because of this. There is no such provision to my knowledge in the regulation.
Okay, so whatever the 8,000 crore realization, whatever the additional profit we get, it will be a one-time net profit.
Yeah, as per CRC regulation, we will be adjusting it in terms of profit as well as passing.
Similar to the power regulation, where there are some protocols that if coming out of the power purchase based on the surrendered by the contracted beneficiary, if you go and sell into the exchange and you have some gain, there is a protocol of gain sharing. So similarly, in the second amendment of the CRC, there is also a protocol for gain sharing. We will have to file this tariff petition, and then the true up will happen accordingly.
Okay. And sir, if last one thing, this Talavera, is there, what is the project status? Is it awarded?
Power plant, our tendering is in the advanced stage. We will be getting the bids shortly. Based on that, we will again enter into the process of seeking clarifications, and finally, parallelly, we want to have the land acquisition done, because without land, how can we award? So these two processes are going on parallelly. We are expediting.
Sir?
Yeah. So, Alok Ranjan from IIFL Asset Management. Sir, my question is to understand the e-auction part much better. This 13 million ton, suppose you will be evacuating from Talavera, from the NTPC and the swapping arrangement that you have, how do you get visibility month-on-month basis in order to firm up the plan, how much additional you will be doing the e-auction? So how do you get the visibility from NTPC, and then accordingly you may plan that, okay, this is the remaining amount of coal that I can do the e-auction. So if you can explain that process, and also on the MDO part, how the costing with the Adani is worked out. So is it on a certain basis, or it's overall costing which is done, and more evacuation will be done, the lesser the cost that will be incurred from your part?
See, as far as coal dispatches are concerned, based on the production, we have our priority very clear that first priority is our own end-use plant NTPL. And we will be meeting the requirement in terms of direct dispatch from Talabira and under the swapping arrangement from MCL to NTPL and in turn swapping to NTPC. And then we are trying for Ghatampur also. In case we get the permission, we will be focusing.
My question is to understand.
No, I want to
Is it
explain you
monthly
again.
basis?
Monthly basis. Our mechanism is such that we are in touch with all the requirements, whether we have end-use plant requirement or NTPC requirement or auction, which we have sold 5 lakh ton just now and still not even 1 lakh is dispatched. So we have to meet that requirement also. So depending upon the availability, we plan our day-to-day basis dispatches, and based on our working, our facilitation of dispatches, we will be making the plans.
Let me add a few points. You were
Sure,
talking about
sure.
the visibility part. The visibility in the swapping arrangement, fundamentally, some linkage quantity which was under the notified price with NTPC and Coal India has been diverted here. So in any of this arrangement, there is a general visibility. So that has been diverted from one PSU to another PSU, and there is some reasonable amount of assurance that Coal India dispatches for a committed end-use plants will be coming with some whatever 10%, 5%. So we can take that for granted and have this diversity factor in our mind as a visibility for planning our dispatches to various.
Can we assume that you get a visibility in terms of how much you can offer in the e-auction market month-on-month basis at least?
I'm sorry that I cannot give you such firmed up plan as of now because it is on a day-to-day basis.
No, sir, Ghatampur anyway will be needing the coal next year itself because March 2023 the plant is coming. So Ghatampur this year won't need any coal. So the coal
This year, although we have been given the bridge linkages in terms of commissioning coal required, because commissioning activities will start soon from Northern Coalfield and BCC. But we will try to give coal from Talabira because we are comfortable as per the requirement. Once it starts, dispatches start as soon as the coal is needed in Ghatampur. If we are able to supply coal from Talabira after getting the permission from Ministry of Coal, we will be more comfortable and we will try for that. So as soon as the requirement of Ghatampur in the coming months start for commissioning, the coal requirement will start.
And so priority, is there any government stance that we will first provide it to NTPC? Because NTPC is giant, they will need much more coal than required. So if they are getting coal at 10 or 20% premium, for them it is quite good. For government also, it also. I mean, the basic question is to understand, because e-auction gives disproportionate profitability. So is that the company will get that pie of the profit, or government intention will be to cap it at, because will you please serve the government PSU first and then only you will be open to, because that will change the overall outlook from which we are looking. So that's why the questioning is all around how much is the visibility on the external e-auction price, because that will swing the profit very crazily, because 5 lakh ton, 400 crore, 350 crore profit. Whereas if you supply 10 lakh ton at 10% or 20% premium also, that will not fetch more than that kind of profit. So it is a very swing factor which we need to understand, because if we won't be able to get that right,
They'll mange more.
so some
See,
visibility for us,
let me again share, because we must understand that these coal blocks are not won in auction. It is not a commercial coal block, and we are obligated to provide coal to the power sector which is regulated, and we are not entitled to any such windfall gains. It is a sort of convenience and convergence of the objectives that Government of India has given this coal block to us, and we are in a position to explore more. But there is an ethical obligation towards the nation and towards the ministry to give the coal to CPSC, the NTPC more after meeting the end use plants. So that objective and priority is very clear to us, and we will be guided by this priority only. So I agree with you that had it been commercial mining, it would not have made sense. That is naturally we would have been adopting some different strategy, but under the given circumstances, we have this priority set in mind as directed, as advised, as we feel that it is safe to provide this. We will try to enhance production. If we are able to meet our end use plant and NTPC, and then we are left with more coal, we will be happy to sell it in the market. There is no doubt about it.
And sir, what is the current regulated equity on the power and mining side? So if I collect my number, it is 6600. So with this expansion of this 3 unit, how much more will be added in next 2 years? So
see, our regulated equity on thermal power front is 3,762.41 crore. Out of a total regulated equity of 6,593.19 crore, including the mines. Now this Ghatampur power project, our total project cost is 17,237 crore, but it is likely to increase because of the FGD, because of some delay, because of some escalation. So this is likely to increase. It may go little more than 19,000 crore. So our debt equity structure is 70-30, and we are 51% partner in Ghatampur. Accordingly, the numbers will flow. So this way we will be able to.
So this will be only additional equity in next 2 years. So thereafter the other plants and all that.
Then there's Talavera equity
Yeah,
infusion.
that is there. So solar and all that will not come anytime soon. So next 2 years.
No.
We have one bit. Sorry.
Solar, already I shared with you that 510 megawatt we have already won the tender, and tendering is on. 150 megawatt hybrid is also tendering is on, and Assam is interested in setting up 1000 megawatt, for which already cabinet approval is conveyed, and we are proceeding ahead with the formation of the joint venture agreement on the same lines of Ghatampur 51-49%. So we will like to set up solar there, and we will not mind setting up more solar power project as we see the opportunity like this.
So 1600 megawatt additional in addition to this Ghatampur currently. So that is where at least the regulated equity portion will be.
I would like to add one.
Solar is not a regulated equity.
It is.
Solar is not under any regulation.
Okay.
Only power plant related equity will come into the regulated, and solar will go into the non-regulated equity.
And sir, solar, what is the ROE we are getting at the current prices of the solar?
See, this year, 21-22, we have been able to get better ROE. I think 122 crore.
Yes, PBT, our ROE is around 12.34% in the
Post-tax.
in our renewable business. And our PBT has increased by 122 crore rupees in this financial year because of the better CFS, CMD sir has addressed again 16.5, 17.5 is this year. So that has brought at a very satisfactory level in renewable level.
But all this is after providing or not recognizing the revenue, whatever is not allowed by regulatory authorities so far, but we have a dispute. That is separate.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, just a couple of questions which are left. One on the MDO part, if you can just clarify how the
MDO contract is on per ton basis. There is no linkage with the production, and this MDO fees, MDO charges are subject to escalation on a year-to-year basis with some indices.
When you say it's not linked to production, means it's on the overall size of the mine, total mine capacity, based on that it is done?
Yes.
So in a year, if you produce less, the costing for you will be higher.
No, it is per ton basis.
Per ton of production basis?
Per ton of production, we are giving the
So it's fixed 750, 760 rupees per ton?
whatever is mandated as per the current year plan, like that only, but next year it will get escalated marginally based on the indices.
Got it. And just one last question, sir. In terms of the debt on the consolidated level, I think around 22,000 crore debt is there, with around 90,000 crore as the long-term borrowings. How should we see this debt moving in FY23?
Our debt equity ratio, as you can see, that it has gone down from 1.16 to 0.75 in the financial year 21-22.
I'm saying, sir, on console basis, I think around
1.56 after including the NDPL and NUPL. As we can see, NDPL is not going to go up, we are going to repay only. NUPL loan will increase as the additional project funding is required in the 70-30 ratio. Other projects, existing mines and thermal, we are repaying also. As you can see that the debt equity ratio is declining because we are not able to add the projects in the previous 2 years much. So in the time to come, as we progress on the projects, our project debt equity will behave. Suppose we are able to award the work for Talabira power plant this year, definitely debt equity should witness more debt component next year.
And lastly, sir, in terms of dividend, 25% we paid, I think, in 21. How should we think in 23, or what will be the?
We have ambitious growth plans, and definitely we are monetizing our projects, NNDPP, solar projects profitably, and in the time to come we will try for more projects completion and monetization. But our growing needs, our growth plans definitely require a very balanced approach on dividend. We would like to satisfy the shareholders on the expectations, but we would also like to retain the earnings to fund our growth plans, which in turn, in the long run, investors, our shareholders will get benefit.
And our dividend policy is also very clear and available how we will proceed. So it is available on the website. So dividend policy, according to dividend policy, we are aligning the dividend and board is taking the decision.
So we have to follow a very calibrated approach, given the fact that, keeping on one hand, there is a need to add capacities, the scaling up from the current level. On one hand, the improved collection also from DISCOM, that also we are taking and factoring in, and also the need to the aspirations of the equity holders, some minimum level of. So we'll be doing a balancing depending on.
So yes, so this is Ankit from Standard and Daiichi Life Insurance. So my question is, you mentioned that the e-auction realization in Q1 average was around 8150. So has it sustained at these levels? I mean, at June end, what was the?
These prices are based on the demand and supply in the industry, in the market, and availability of the import coal also, imported coal also, international coal pricing also. So we cannot expect this price level to sustain, and that's how this may be fluctuating.
But so far, has it sustained, or you expect it to go down in the future? Say June end.
No, as the coal production is also ramping up, more commercial blocks for coal are getting auctioned, and we are also participating in 2 coal blocks. So in the time to come, the coal demand will ease out as we progress. As we see the monsoon, the demand will also come down. So it all depends on demand and supply factors.
Right, sir. And sir, a bit more details on the lignite to methanol project. So, like,
when would the capex start and what kind of IRRs we expect on that project?
We have estimated the project cost to be around 4,394 400 crore. 4,394. So we will be going with the standard debt equity ratio, and we will also be targeting the IRR based on what we get alternatively. But this project feasibility will all depend upon how we are getting the tenders. We are now coming up with the tender LSTK. Based on the pricing of plant, we will be able to come out with the feasibility. Now there is no regulated revenue in this. We have to depend on market. So the numbers are really tight, and we have sought PLI from Ministry of Coal for this project, because we strongly believe that gasification has a lot of good future in India, and lignite is a preferred fuel for methanol, and we are getting the advantage of our positioning in the south, where the market is also good for methanol. We will be able to come up with the clear picture as we progress on the tendering.
But sir, what would your threshold be? Is it something similar to what you get on renewables?
Actually, since it is not a regulated business and we are not certain about the costing, project cost, revenue, so at this stage we may not have very good visibility of the returns.
Sir, one last bit, sir. This LD that you expect of 110 to 120 crore, that will be recognized as a one-off, or it will be adjusted against
LD?
Yes.
Yeah, LD is generally it is set off against the project cost, and I remember that in the addition last year we have already done it. So it is adjusted against the project cost.
So there would be any one-off related to this. In the PNL, would there be any one-off related?
No. There will not be any income on account of this LD realization, because our project cost is already, it has overshot than the normative level. So to that extent, we will be able to reduce our project cost, and our return, although still it is not as per the normative level, but it will have a better impact.
Thank you so much.
So if the questions are, there are no more questions, then may we thank all our stakeholders, valued stakeholders, for patient listening. I hope we are able to satisfy the information requirements by all of you.
So thanks to NLC management for taking time out and speaking to all the investors. I think